introduction here because I think it'll help the crowd, and you may have some Q&A that goes across both officers who speak this afternoon. Captain Adrian Felder is going to be our first speaker this afternoon. He's a communications officer, and he's also a recent graduate of a computer sciences school or a curriculum at Naval Postgraduate School. And his focus was on network operations at the Naval Postgraduate level. So I talked about this yesterday if you were here. Quite a few of the staff at MCTSSA are Naval Postgraduate School graduates, and this is part of their payback. That's generally their first payback tour is here at MCTSSA, which really provides an advantage to the Navy and Marine Corps team when you get right down to it. He served with 9th Com Battalion at Camp Pendleton as an operations officer. He's deployed more than once, and right now he's currently the operations officer at for part of the Warfighting Support Division at MCTSSA. So Captain Adrian or Captain Felder is going to talk about some opportunities, I think, as a part of his session. Now he's going to be followed by Major Adam Fushi. Yeah, Fushi, I got it right. He's also from MCTSSA, as you can guess. He also has a degree from Naval Postgraduate School, and his is in engineering. He's was a 53 pilot, has transitioned over to do what he's doing now. He's going to talk about the multiple task order awards program that we brought up yesterday afternoon. So I think the two of these officers together will provide you some insight on some opportunities, also showcase what the MCTSSA is doing for the Marine Corps, maybe a little bit for the Navy as well. So without further ado, Captain.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you all for coming. Again, I'm Captain Adrian Felder. I'm the operations officer at the Warfighter Support Division at MCTSSA. Before I dive into the slides, I just kind of want to paint the picture. Marines are in an interesting time. In the information age, with the development of systems, they're overwhelmed by the number of systems that are being fielded in terms of staying up to date on training and how do you manage the systems upon systems that are being fielded for requirements when you have Marines coming through a pipeline for the majority of them in 4-year tours. And then on top of that, you've got your initial training, you've got your MOS training, and then with that, we need to efficiently train them up and make not just the systems effective, but the systems and the warfighter effective. And that's what the Warfighter Support Division seeks to do. I believe there's a clicker up here. There it is. So with that being said, what I'm going to go through today is how the MCTSSA Support Center works. I'm going to start with just a background on MCTSSA for if you weren't here yesterday and what we're tasked with doing. Then I'm going to dive into the MCTSSA Support Center capabilities. And at the end, I'll talk about a few of the initiatives that we're taking to provide better support to the Marines in terms of C4I capabilities and systems. So MCTSSA, the Marine Corps Tactical Systems Support Activity, is located on Camp Pendleton, about 40 miles north of here. We're subordinate to Marine Corps Systems Command, and we serve as Marine Corps Systems Command's operational arm. Our mission is threefold. First is to conduct program engineering for Marine Corps for Systems Command programs. Second, conduct C4I system test and certification, and then lastly, provide the Fleet Marine Force with support for tactical systems to include a support center and deployed support capability. This is where Warfighter Support Division and the MCTSSA Support Center comes in. We're all about that post-milestone C support to the operating force, to the Fleet Marine Force. per the Commandant's CPG. And we do this in various different means. The Warfighter Support Division is made up of about 100 individuals right now. The vast majority of them are contractors. They're experts in various tactical systems. On top of that, we have a handful of government civilians and uniformed personnel, such as myself, who manage the overall efforts, work with the program offices, work with the fleet to ensure that the support we're providing is what's necessary. And that support we provide is shown in this diagram. We provide support at four different levels. First is Tier 0 support. This, if this were a perfect world, the support center would only have to focus on Tier 0 support. Tier 0 is self-help. This is us creating tools and resources and documents the Marines can go online and pull down themselves so they can solve their problems when it comes to system operation and system integration. We have a CAC-enabled website that gives Marine access to all these documents. They can search for videos, training manuals, technical manuals, all sorts of resources that have been put together by our SMEs, by vendors, by the program offices in order for them to better use their systems. Again, as I said, our goal is in a perfect world, we would only have to focus on this. Systems would come out, all the documentation would be there, it would be easily searchable, Marines could go online, pull down what they need, they'd never have to reach out to anyone for anything because the resources would be there. But the world's not perfect. First off, systems are constantly changing. There's engineering change requests that are modifying them. And then on top of it, new systems are being fielded. And when those are fielded, it doesn't just affect the single system that's coming out, but it affects all the other systems they have to interact with. That's the toughest part when it comes to system operations for Marines at the ground level. It's not just operating that single system, it's making that system integrate and become interoperable with all the other systems, the hundreds of systems that are out there. So when that comes up and the resources are not available on the self-help website, that's when the MCTSSA Support Center proper comes in what we call our Tier 1 service desk. The Tier 1 service desk is a 24-hour organization located at Camp Pendleton. It's the single point of contact for all C4I systems that SysCom supports, as well as dozens of other systems outside of SysCom's repertoire that we have knowledge on. The personnel who staff this service desk are contractors. They aren't experts in any specific system, but they're experts in our system. They know, first off, all the documents and resources out there that they can walk Marines on target to solve their problems. They also know what external resources, what other organizations they can reach out to provide support. And then they know how to triage the issue. They identify what unit's calling. They identify where the unit is, what the operational impact is of that system being down, so they can effectively triage the situation and get them to a higher level of support if necessary. Now, again, if that doesn't work, our goal is to catch about 80% of the calls we get, the calls, chat, web, and email traffic we get from Marines. 80% caught by the service desk. If that doesn't work, we elevate them to our Tier 2 subject matter experts. This makes up about half of our contractor workforce, and they are the experts on the systems. They, for the most part, were prior Marines. All of them are prior military. They've used this equipment not just in the lab like a lot of the engineers have, but they've used it downrange. They've used it in the dirt, in the dust. They know what issues can come up that aren't necessarily covered in the training, in the TM. So they're able to, over the phone, or over chat, whatever the medium, walk the Marines on target, conduct complex, systematic troubleshooting to solve their problem, and then most importantly of all, they document these issues, create further resources that can be pushed down to a lower level, as well as up to systems command for feedback on, and the program offices for feedback on those systems to hopefully solve some problems and create a better design in the long run. One other thing our SMEs do is conduct on-site support for the Marines. This can be a backyard op on Camp Pendleton. Our guys will go out in the afternoons, in the morning for a couple hours, provide support to the Marines when they need it, or it can be downrange. We send our SMEs on ship often for all the MEUs. If need be, they'll go downrange to Afghanistan, Iraq, wherever Marines are. Our contractors are prepared to deploy in support of to solve their problems. Now, if we exhaust the efforts of our SMEs, then that's where generally it's become a systemic problem in the system. And we have all the resources to pass it off to other organizations, whether it's other organizations in MCTSSA, the Program Engineering and Support Division, or Test and Certification Division, or other vendors, or reaching out to the program offices directly to identify these issues, help define new requirements, new engineering change requests, so there's a full feedback loop. So at the tip of the pyramid, that's not specifically the support center conducting the systemic problem resolution, but we are ingrained in the process the whole way through. We're working with whatever vendor or organization is doing that problem resolution and the Marine to make sure there's a full loop and making sure the Marine at the end of the day is getting the support they need. This is a snapshot of the current systems we support within Marine Corps Systems Command. I'll note at the top, at the Tier 1 level, the service desk level, we support any system that a Marine finds themselves operating in a tactical environment. If a Marine calls, we've gotten calls about shotguns. We've gotten calls about LAVs. And the answer from our customer service analyst is not, sorry, you're going to have to call this person. It's, let me get back to you on that. And we do the legwork. That's the goal of this, to take the burden off of the Marine. So while they're dealing with pre-deployment requirements, they're making sure their travel arrangements are done. They're doing all the other stuff that's required of them to be operationally ready. We can take care of the legwork of figuring out exactly where in the DoD, if we have to reach out beyond the Marine Corps, we can get them support and then coordinate with them and that organization to get them there. One push we've made over the past few years is to get beyond Camp Pendleton. MCTSSA proper is at Camp Pendleton. However, now we have embedded teams across the globe. So we can, for our Tier 2 support, we can provide follow-the-sun resources. So it doesn't matter to a Marine if he's on the middle of a field exercise, he's having an issue with a SATCOM terminal, he calls our service desk, it needs to get elevated to Tier 2. We don't have anyone at Camp Pendleton during who's working VSAT at the time, but the Marine doesn't need to know that. We've got someone in Germany who does VSAT work. We get him on the line, and it's seamless for the Marine. So our footprint includes, of course, about half our team is here at Camp Pendleton. We've got a liaison with Marshal Rez in New Orleans. Camp Lejeune, in the past year, we've stood up a 10-contractor team out there to cover a large portion of these systems. Stuttgart, Germany, have a 5-person team, as well as Bahrain. And then Okinawa, we have a large footprint over there of about 15 contractors who work closely with TUVMEF to provide all the support they need. So that finishes the overview of what we do. Before I take questions, I just want to talk about a couple of the initiatives we're looking at to really build out how we provide support. Because with moving into the information age and everything you see around here, there's a lot of opportunities to provide better customer service to the Marines wherever they are on the globe. So one, we've started looking at virtual reality and augmented reality to provide remote assistance from our contractors sitting in the office. If we can get augmented reality capabilities in a squad bay or even downrange, then a Marine having trouble with a system, our analysts can physically go in that augmented reality and show them what to do. Some other things we're looking at is more advanced ticketing systems to provide a more seamless customer experience for the Marines. And those are our two major pushes right now. With that, I'll go ahead and open it up for questions. Yes, sir.
Hi there, Captain Felder. I'm Josh Mills with Gartner. You talked about how you collect...
I'm sorry, I can't...
You talked about how you collect information on when folks are calling in and talking about the different issues, and those end up getting recorded. Are you guys responsible in any way for capturing that information from a data and analytics perspective so that it would flow somewhere upstream to be able to give folks some information so they can get more prescriptive and predictive about what might be happening with some of the systems you had? If you wouldn't mind going back a couple of slides.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Yep.
Yeah, so as for the data analytics side, we're kind of just getting into that, but I'll go further into our feedback loop with Syscom because we do, on a regular basis, provide monthly reports and quarterly reports on all the issues that are being had. I would say we haven't made a huge push for data analytics yet, but it definitely is on the radar of something that would greatly improve our ability to analyze all these tickets and all this support we're providing. So, does that answer your question? Thanks. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much for attending, and thank you for your time.
So I made that brief double introduction, but let me now introduce Major Adam Fushi, he is a acquisition officer. He's also a Naval Postgraduate School graduate. Some of you weren't here. His focus on engineering, and he's also a CH-53 pilot, probably more in the past than in the present. He's here to talk about some opportunities and exactly what MCTSSA is trying to get across.
All right, there I am. So thanks for your time. As the Colonel said, I am a